Hi there, this is Monica. Remember, in our last video, we were talking about what not to do in a speaking exam. And today, I want to bring you the second part of that video, which is precisely what to do in order to do the best speaking test ever. Do you want to find out? Keep watching. Okay, so imagine the day has come. All right, you haven't slept well last night. You wake up feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit anxious. You get sweaty palms. You are out of breath and you are dreading the moment. Does it sound familiar? I bet it does. Okay, and now picture yourself. You get to the room and you are giving the speaking test. Okay, you look at the paper and there you have to perform a monologue. Okay, what is a monologue? A monologue is a short speech where you have to speak for about 3 or 4 minutes about a given topic. Okay, this is a really terrifying moment, okay, because you will be on your own speaking for about 4 minutes about something that is totally unexpected. It's a nightmare, okay, and then you start thinking, oh my God, how I'm going to start, what I'm going to say, how I'm going to do my introduction, what I'm going to say next, how I'm going to end it, okay, all these questions. So in today's video, I want to share with you the secrets to the best speaking test ever, okay? So if you want to find out, keep watching and let's get started. Right. So time to start your monologue. Okay, where do you start from? Okay, what do you say at the very beginning? Now, bear in mind that the beginning of your monologue is probably the most important part of your monologue. Why? Because it's the first sentences or the first words that we are going to hear from you. That's why it's the moment to impress the examiner. Okay, so try to avoid boring or plain introductions such as, today I'm going to talk about X topic, but instead we can use different introductions, okay, a little bit more advanced. For example, the ones that you have on the screen. The first one, you could say, today I've been asked to talk about the topic of technology, for instance, okay? The second, first of all, I would like to start by giving my opinion on the topic of the environment, all right? The third one, let me begin speaking about the topic of, I don't know, education. Okay, and finally, to start with, let me express my view on the pros and cons of online shopping, for instance. Okay, as you can see, any of these introduction sentences would be much better than the boring traditional way of starting a monologue, which is, today I'm going to talk about blah, blah, blah. Okay, so choose any of these 4. Now, let's see what is next. In your monologue, it's very important that you get people's attention, okay? That people don't go to sleep. And what can you say to make it a little bit different, okay? You could use attention grabbers. What is that? For example, in your monologue, you can introduce a rhetorical question, okay? An open question, okay? Let's take a look at that to see what I mean. Okay, so while you are talking in your monologue, at some point you can say an open question. Okay, for example, okay, do you think that can crime really be prevented? Well, I'm not really sure about that. Okay, so a rhetorical question that is in the middle of your monologue that really makes the examiner kind of wake up, okay, and be interested in what you are saying. Or for example, if you're talking about books, you could say, do you consider yourself an avid reader? Well, myself, I think that I am an extraordinary avid reader because I read X number of books a month, okay? Or the third one, how has technology changed in the last year? Well, let's see. Okay, nowadays, more and more people, so these type of questions, okay, make your monologue immediately more interesting and more attractive, okay? So try to use them. Don't overuse them, but try to use at least one, okay, in your introduction. What other attention grabbers can we use? Okay, maybe you can mention some interesting facts, okay? So you can say, well, according to an article I read recently, okay, the number of people that blah, 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 okay? So you are bringing reality into your monologue, okay? Or, well, I'd like to share an interesting fact with you. Did you know that Okay? Or simply the direct question, did you know that people living in northern countries, blah, blah, blah. So remember these facts don't need to be real, okay? You can make them up, okay? So it doesn't matter if you didn't read this article. The thing is that you mention it and you say something, okay? To create, again, the objective is to make your monologue more attractive and more interesting and easy to follow, okay? What else? Talking about grammar as well, and because we said before that it's a good idea to introduce rhetorical questions, okay? Why don't you use a rhetorical question with a conditional sentence? And then you have two in one, okay? So you have a good idea, a good opening, a good question, plus a nice grammatical structure using conditional sentences in English. For example, have you ever wondered what would happen if blah, blah, blah? Okay, and this type of questions can be used in any type of monologue regardless of the topic that you are being asked about, okay? So try to introduce them if possible. Also, when you are talking about and when you are giving your presentation, your monologue, okay, you could also state a fact, okay? We were talking about facts before, but then you can use these nice structures or nice expressions such as, well, as everybody knows, okay? Or it is a well-known fact that blah, 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 or nobody will deny that, okay, technology has increased in the latest years, etc. Okay, so these three expressions are very useful when you are exactly just stating a fact or giving some figures or some facts in your monologues, okay? So try to use them if you can. Now, what is next? Now, this is also a very, very, very important point in your monologue, which is sometimes you are asked about a topic, but then that topic has got three different subtopics, okay? The question is, how do you move from one topic to the next? What do you say in order to change the topic, okay? Because many times the problem is that we move from one topic to the next straight away without making a transition shift, okay? So it's important to have the language, okay, to move from one point to the next one. How do we do that? Let's see. These are useful expressions that you can use. Yeah? So for example, you finished talking about one topic and now you want to move to the next one. Okay, let's now move on to the next point, which is blah, blah, blah. Okay, or this leads me directly to my next point. Okay, the third one is regarding doing regular exercise. Okay, so you use regarding, okay, at the beginning of the sentence, and then you talk about the new topic. Okay, a similar one is as regards to technology at school. Okay, so you are using that expression for the new topic that you need to speak about. And finally, when it comes to alternative medicine, it's vital to bear in mind that blah, blah, blah. As you can see, all these introductory sentences are useful, okay, when you are trying to change the subject, okay, but you don't want to be too abrupt or too sudden. Okay, point number 2 is blah, blah, blah. No, try to use these nice expressions to help you transition, okay? Right. Next thing we're going to talk about is how to give your opinion, how to express your opinion in a monologue. This is something that we will almost all the time will have to do in your monologues, which is, yeah, express your real opinion about something. So what can we say? Again, useful expressions that you can use, okay? So instead of saying, I think that, in my opinion, which is a bit basic, okay, for maybe the advanced level, you can use any of these expressions. As I see it, as far as I'm concerned, to my mind, to my knowledge, it seems to me that, in my view, I'm absolutely convinced that, there is no doubt that, okay? So as you can see, a nice variety of opinion expressions that can be used in absolutely any of your monologues. Okay, what else? And now, it's also very, very, very essential okay, to replace repeated words. And if there is one word that is mostly repeated, okay, is the word important, okay? If we are doing a monologue, you will probably have to use that word a lot, okay? But in order to show the variety of vocabulary that we have learned, okay, let's try to replace that word and use synonyms, okay? So instead of using the word important, you can say, it is vital, okay? So for example, it is vital that more is done to prevent bullying at schools, for instance, okay? The second example, journalists play an essential or a crucial role in educating the public, okay? So no longer important, but essential, crucial, or vital, okay? The third example is the internet has become an indispensable tool, okay? So another synonym there, indispensable. And finally, it's imperative that people become aware of the importance of vaccines, okay? So imperative would be another synonym, okay? So I'm not saying that never say the word important ever again, okay? But try to use synonyms when you have to use it several times, okay? It will really show the nice vocabulary that you have. Now, let's take a look at some more tips. Okay, so we have finally approaching the end, and it's time to use certain expressions that are indicating that the end is near, okay? So what expressions can we say when we are approaching the ending of the monologue, okay? So instead of saying, okay, I'm finally blah, 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 okay? When you are coming to the end, you might say, well, this brings me to the end of what I wanted to say about the topic of blah, blah, blah. As a final point, I would like to add that, and then you add an extra point, okay? That covers just about everything I wanted to say in relation to the topic of education. Finally, I would like to highlight one last issue, okay? Or one key issue, all right? And finally, I would like to finish by mentioning, okay? And then you say one final thing. So as you can see, all these expressions let the examiner know that the person is about to end the monologue, okay? And also you are showing some nice structures and some nice expressions to show that, okay? And now, the conclusion, okay? The final part of your monologue where you are so close to finishing and be so relieved, okay? So let's do it in a grand style, okay? How can we finish our monologue? Let's see. Of course, useful expressions to help you reach the conclusion, okay? So you can say, okay, in a nutshell, okay, which means in conclusion, okay? Or you can say, well, last but not least, I would like to mention blah, blah, blah. Or all things considered, or finally, in short, comma, and then you continue and say your final thoughts, okay? This is a very nice, very elegant way of concluding your monologue in a really nice way, okay? So try to use all these expressions in your conclusion, okay? Now, what else? Let's see the next idea that we have. There we go. And now, so let's take a look about the moment that we are preparing our monologue before we start, okay? Things to take into account. Now, number one, you can see here in yellow. Think very carefully about what you've been asked, okay? It's a mistake to read very quickly the instructions, and then many times we realize later that we haven't noticed something important. So read very carefully what you have been asked, okay? Do you really need to answer 3 questions, 4 questions? What is the exact topic that you need to talk about, okay? Pay a lot of attention and be careful with that. Now, the green part is to organize your speech, okay? Before we start with your monologue, we need to really, on a piece of paper, write down these ideas and make like a little diagram, okay? So organize your speech in different parts, okay? So you need to write number 1, introduction. What ideas are you going to mention there? Second part, main body. What are you going to say in the main part of your monologue? Conclusion, okay? So really organize how you're going to distribute your ideas in your monologue. When you are taking these notes, remember, just write very short notes, okay? Never write full sentences, because when you are doing your speech, okay, you won't have time to read everything you have written. So it really helps that those notes are very short, okay, and straight to the point. And finally, try to use expressions that are according to your level, okay? So if you are in an advanced level, try to avoid really plain and simplistic expressions and try to use structures that are, you know, proper to the level that you are studying, okay? So that is before we do the monologue. Now, during the monologue, here are some ideas that you need to remember. When you are doing a monologue, it's nerve-wracking to have a teacher in front of you who is taking notes. So my recommendation is ignore the teacher. Don't worry about the teacher, okay? And concentrate on your monologue, okay? Forget that that person is there. If that person is taking notes, okay, don't worry, oh my God, you know, I made a mistake. I am sure he or she is writing horrible things, because many times when examiners are taking notes, it could be something that is really positive, okay? So remember, the notes might be negative, but also positive, okay? So forget about the teacher, or try to. I know that is hard, but try to. During your monologue, check your notes, okay? You are allowed to check your notes during your speech, okay? Don't forget it, because many times you really write interesting ideas, nice structures, and then when we are nervous, okay, we completely forget about our notes, and it's a real shame, okay? So remember, the notes are there to be checked, okay? And then the blue color is very important, okay? Sometimes we are really worried about, oh my God, I don't know anything about this topic, or I might say something that is not true, or this really didn't happen to me, so I cannot say anything. Do not worry, okay? The examiner doesn't really mind if you are lying, if you're not saying something accurate, okay? Because what we are examining is your level and your language, okay? But not really what happened to you, if it's true or not, okay? But the way that you are expressing it, okay? So don't worry about that. And then finally, it's important that you keep an eye on the time, okay? Remember that more or less you have a limit, okay, to speak about. Normally it's around 3-4 minutes, okay? So it's important not to go overboard or not to be short, okay? So control the time as much as you can, okay? So this will be during your monologue. Now, when the monologue is finished, okay, if you have the chance, if you get the correction from your teacher, it's important to take notes of what went wrong, okay? What was the problem with that, okay? To make sure that in the next time you get better and you improve it, okay? And again, all the new things that you have learned, okay, remember in the future to put them into practice. And then also, it would be fantastic if after having received all those corrections, if you can record yourself, record your voice, putting into practice all those corrections. In that way, you will really remember, and they will get really fixed, okay, for the next time, for the future. Okay, so we have come to the end of this tip presentation. Now remember, the practice makes perfect, and the only way to get better at anything in life is to practice a lot, okay? So record yourself, practice your monologues, talk about any topic that comes to mind, and put into practice all these tips that I gave you today. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Okay, so these were my tips. Thank you for watching, and I hope these tips were useful and that you put them into practice next time you have to face a speaking monologue. Take care of yourselves and see you in the next video. Bye!